All right. Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. What's going on, guys? Early chatters are definitely in. Sorry about the late start. Just, lots of things. On the fence with Muzza. What's going on? On the fence, Kiwi Bear Muzza. Everyone say hello to Muzza in the chats. Our moderator for the day, and mostly every day. And thanks for the super chat. But anyways, hello to all. I am also live on Rockfin. Hello, all my Rockfineers. Urban Hermit and For the Biosphere is here. We have 4 watching on Rockfin. Let's try and get more. We got up to like 25 yesterday on Rockfin, so that was cool. And thank you guys for coming over and hanging out with me on Rockfin yesterday. My Rockfin only live stream, which we're gonna do once in a while, just to get people in the flow, you know. Jacob Gordon, Jay Thadcast, Lance Rebo, J.A. Moniker, Osama. Welcome, guys. Hello, Lord of Black Bear News. It sounds a little ominous. I mean, thanks for the title and all that, but I'm the Lord of no one. I'm just a guy talking about climate change on Black Bear News. But welcome. Basil Peterson said he had an ad for a tinfoil hat to protect from 4G and 5G. That is hilarious. Very good. Well, you know, tinfoil is remarkably useful in many ways. Multi-use material. For the Biosphere says, Lord, you are a black bear. Very good. I like that. Some are using TrueTube for streaming. Okay, got it. Jay Thadcast, Sampuran Singh, Urban Hermit, Jacob Gordon, and Osama, Raza, and Poppy are all on Rockfin hanging out with me. You guys rock. And Muzza got another super chat from Muzza. Thank you so much. All right, let's get into it. I heard there was something going on today. I don't know. Maybe I missed it. Not sure. But farewell to what many felt like was an existential threat on many levels. But let's go to this from Peter Kalmus. If every day from here on out we make progress equivalent to shutting down the Keystone XL pipeline, it might be okay. It might be okay. So Peter giving a dose of reality, you know, in the realm of where we are at. If you're looking at a historical map, a true and representative historical map of where we are at. We are here. That's where we're at. We need a keystone a day. That's what out of time really means. Indeed. And true. And, you know, he's referring to the news that, you know, Biden might shut down or cancel the Keystone pipeline permit. If that's going to happen, I don't know. We just keep on, we keep on seeing that the Biden administration, we're going to do this. And then they're like, well, we're not going to do this. Uh-oh. Sean King just retweeted something about he, you know, was supposed to have on his list of things to do in his first day of office, something about commuting the sentences of nonviolent offenders, and then that disappeared. So, again, promises, promises. Anyway, so we'll see if the Keystone thing happens. But Peter calling it correctly, we need a Keystone a day. That's true. Let's move on to this article, frightening, from Kevin Shanholzer. I think you can see that. I think you all can see that. Monarch butterfly population moves closer to extinction. This is from yesterday. The number of western monarch butterflies wintering along the California coast has plummeted precipitously to a record low, putting the orange and black insects closer to extinction. Researchers announced Tuesday an annual winter count by the Xerces Society recorded fewer than 2,000 butterflies, a massive decline from the tens of thousands tallied in recent years and the millions that clustered in trees from Northern California's Marin County to San Diego County in the south in the 1980s. Western monarch butterflies head south from the Pacific Northwest to California each year, returning to the same places and even the same trees where they cluster to keep warm. The monarchs generally arrive in California at the beginning of November and spread across the country once warmer weather arrives in March. On the eastern side of the Rocky Mountains, another monarch population travels from southern Canada and the northeastern United States across thousands of miles to spend the winter in central Mexico. Scientists estimate the monarch population in the eastern U.S. has fallen about 80% since the mid-1990s, but the drop-off in the western U.S. has been even steeper. The Xerces Society, a nonprofit environmental organization that focuses on the conservation of invertebrates, recorded about 29,000 butterflies in its annual survey last winter. That was not much different than the tally the winter before, when an all-time low of 27,000 monarchs were counted. But the count this year is dismal. Iconic monarch wintering sites in the city of Pacific Grove, volunteers didn't see a single butterfly this winter. Wow. Other well-known locations, such as Pismo State Beach, Monarch Butterfly Grove, and the Natural Bridges State Park, only hosted a few hundred butterflies, researchers said. These sites normally host thousands of butterflies, and their absence this year was heartbreaking for volunteers and visitors flocking to these locales, hoping to catch a glimpse of the awe-inspiring clusters of monarch butterflies. Scientists say the butterflies are at critically low levels in western states because of this destruction to their milkweed habitat along their migratory route as housing expands into their territory and use of pesticides and herbicides increases. The ever-expanding maw of industrial civilization and humans just indiscriminately destroy all kinds of things. 2017 study by Washington State University researchers predicted that if the monarch population dropped below 30,000, the species would likely go extinct in the next few decades if nothing is done to save them. And yeah, monarch butterflies lack state and federal legal protection to keep their habitat from being destroyed or degraded. Sorry, guys. That's where we're at. Sorry, guys. Hold on 1 second. I'm just... Sorry. Just something a little bit weird going on in the neighborhood. And I can't really get into the details, but I can see out onto my street. And just keeping an eye on what's going on. Hello. Raza says, end of monarchy. Indeed. Jay Thadcast says, Mom is a master gardener that caters to monarchs, but she only gets a few compared to thousands of the past. Frightening. Frightening. I actually forgot to... I'll get back to that later. I think I forgot to load something that I wanted to talk about, but it's all good. We're going to make it through this. Well, let's get to... Oh, here's another story. TCR tweeted this to me last night. Crazy. Powerful winds sparked new blazes in California's year-round fire season. Yeah, he tweeted something. There was another fire in the Santa Cruz area. It's January. Warm winter weather and strong gusts have led to an early start for 2021's fires, following a record-breaking year of blazes in 2020. An early start, yeah, I'll say. Actually, this is weird, but not unprecedented. We had actually, in the last 2 winters. December, I'm going to say December, January, there were fires in Southern California in the last few winters. So, not unprecedented, but, extremely concerning, right? Unusually warm and dry conditions coupled with powerful wind gusts have ignited a spate of winter wildfires that call into question the idea that California has a fire season at all anymore. Residents of several communities in the Santa Cruz Mountains were ordered to evacuate by the local sheriff's office Tuesday morning as California's fire agency, CAL FIRE, responded to more than a dozen new vegetation fires across the area. Some of the fires were ignited when power lines were toppled by high winds. We did have a bit of a high wind situation in the last 24 to 48 hours. Others were wind-driven reignitions of the areas that burned in 2020, CAL FIRE said. By midday Tuesday, 6 fires in the area were still burning. The evacuations came as Californians grappled with the latest example of the reality of climate crisis, red flag warnings, the National Weather Service's highest level of caution for wildfire activity across much of the state in January. The early start to 2021's fires follows 2020's record-breaking year, which saw wildfires that burned approximately 4.26 million acres and killed 33 people. Indeed, we do not have a fire season anymore. Is there crackle? Well, why don't y'all tell me with this crackle, y'all? Okay. Thank you. I saw a couple of like snap crackle pops or something, but just say, Kevin, there's crackle on your microphone. So I know right away I can do something. That's all. Thank you, though. Thanks for the heads up. Anyways, hopefully it wasn't too long and too bad, but guys, just please be direct, because I need to fix the sound as quickly as possible. Um, anyways, we got the people on the Rockfins hanging out with us. And let's move into the story. You did? Okay. Yeah, I just, sometimes people just, kind of roundaboutly say something about Crackle. Just say, there is Crackle on your mic. That's all you need to say, please. Thank you. All right, let's get into this story from the Washington Post. Using pretty distinct language. What a wrecked polar vortex means for winter-starved Americans. It's been an easy winter on the East Coast, but that's not guaranteed to continue. This is from yesterday. For the second year in a row, a gentle winter has eased along in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast with near to below average snowfall and mild temperatures. I don't know, is it only the second year in a row? Okay, we'll just say it's the second year in a row. I have to say, this has kind of been a thing for the last 3 or 4 years, bumping along 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, that there's a later and later start to winter. Or that very northern latitudes don't really get much of a winter. I feel like this has been more than 2 years. Anyways, weeks ago it appeared that an influx of snow and cold might accompany an ongoing disruption to the polar vortex, but the visit from Old Man Winter has yet to materialize. Experts now say that although the bout of unsettled wintry weather is delayed, it's too soon to count it out. Well, don't count out winter yet. What is this whackness? The possible spell of wintry weather in the pipeline is thanks to a series of disturbances that have shaken up the polar vortex, eating into its circulation and leaving the feature wrecked. According to Paul Newman, chief scientist for Earth Science and famous actor at the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. But the impacts have yet to be felt in the lower 48. All right, well, I'm glad that they're mentioning the polar vortex again, because we've had a couple of polar vortex situations in the last few months, and it's interesting because they stopped saying vortex or stopped saying polar vortex. They're just like, well, it's really cold over here, or it's really warm over here. Like, they're just, using any words but polar vortex. And I feel like they're doing that on purpose. Ever since a storm in mid-December, the winter has been tame for most East Coast residents. New York City has had 10.5 inches to date this season. Boston is near 1.5 feet, while Philadelphia stands at 6.6 inches. Washington, D.C. hasn't seen a stitch of measurable snowfall. Wow. And while there hasn't been a single solid blockbuster snowstorm that's targeted any of these coastal cities, atmospheric scientists warn that surprises can be in store when the polar vortex is weak and wobbly, as is currently the case. Just a moment, guys. Let me check something. Hold on 1 second, guys. Just checking something out. Okay, going back. Sorry, just checking. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. All right. Nope. 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 Dang it. What is going on here? Hold on 1 second, guys. trying to fix something. Give me a second. That's not where it's supposed to be. Oh, I see what's happening. Sorry, guys. Oh, I see what's going on. Hold on. Trying to show you the article, but I had to do it in a had to do it in another window. Okay. You know, every single day is a new weird ass problem that I have to realign myself to. Okay, here we go. Guys, you can see that, I think. The stratospheric polar vortex is a whirlpool of high-altitude cold air that swirls around a low-pressure area near the South Pole. It's born as a result of polar night, a months-long dark spell that accompanies the dead of winter in the far north. The lack of sunlight chills the air, jump-starting the gyrating icebox's spin every winter. It vanishes once spring returns, only to reform by September or October. When the vortex is strong and stable, it keeps cold Arctic air bottled north and the lower 48 beyond the reach of its icy grasp. But disturbances that knock the vortex off kilter can unleash that frigid air, bringing stormy weather and increased snow chances to much of the United States and Canada, while also affecting Europe and Asia. In late December, a record-setting high-pressure area in Mongolia and a hurricane-force low-pressure system in the North Pacific sent upward moving atmospheric waves into the stratosphere, disrupting the high-altitude stratospheric polar vortex and causing a sudden stratospheric warming event. This warming event was so strong that it caused the whirlpool of winds encircling the pole to slacken and then even reverse direction as the cold was displaced to the south. The stratosphere has transferred some of this energy into the lower atmosphere via downward moving atmospheric waves, where it can help determine which areas get buried in blizzards while others see unusually mild conditions. It's not guaranteed that each polar vortex disruption or stratospheric warming event will yield unusually cold and snowy conditions, given how unique each event is. The ongoing event, which kicked off in early January, has been complex. Typically, when you get a large disruption, that's it, said Judah Cohen, a polar vortex specialist and director of seasonal forecasting at Atmospheric and Environmental Research. But this time, we got a split, and then it recovered. Then it kind of split again, and now it's displaced, and it could split a third or fourth time. Let's look at this. And this is what they're saying the polar vortex is now. I mean, yeah, it's all over the place, right? There's a lump of warm air right over the Arctic, pushing out the cold air, and it's just kind of swimming around and causing the havoc, right? The stratosphere has transferred some of this energy into the lower atmosphere via downward moving atmospheric waves, where it can help determine which areas get buried in blizzards while others see unusually mild conditions. It's not guaranteed that each polar vortex disruption or stratospheric warming event will yield unusually cold and snowy conditions, given how unique each event is. I think I read that. On January 4th and 5th, a large scale wave developed and propagated up into the stratosphere. That basically wrecked the polar vortex. If you look at maps of the stratospheric polar vortex, you see two big chunks floating around. Yeah. And, you know, I don't know if you want to explain this, Paul Newman, that this has been going on for several years. And that this means very, very bad things into the near future. But maybe he'll explain that, maybe not. Maybe they'll just be like, well, this situation right now that we're experiencing is just so strange and so abnormal and weird. One of the lobes has already brought extreme cold to Siberia, where temperatures in Yakutia and eastern Russia haven't climbed above minus 40 in more than a month. Delyankir in northeastern Russia dropped to minus 73 degrees January 18th. The concentrated cold has been fierce and extreme and looks to remain in place in eastern Russia through at least early next week. Okay, let's see. What does it mean? When the polar vortex is disrupted, its weakening can induce a Greenland block or a stagnant regime of cold, high pressure over Greenland that helps channel cold air along the eastern seaboard, helping tip the scales towards snowfall if a storm system brews. Blocking high pressure also translates to snow-moving storm systems, since the high pressure acts as a downstream logjam that allows other systems to become backed up. Is it me, or is it just that is it me, or are they just talking about this as if it's a singular event? I don't know. Yeah, guys, I don't, is it me, or are they just saying like, whoa, this is so weird, this polar, this freak one-time occurrence? Are they relating this to something that's ongoing and that's going to get worse? I don't see it yet. For the biosphere, says Paul Newman's Polar Vortex Pizza. Yes. Kiro Hikes, thanks for the super chat. Kiro says thug life and vegan waffles. I concur. Yes, Ross Cobbin, I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep the masses calm. Yeah, there's nothing in here that speaks of the actual catastrophe of this situation. They're just like, well, yeah, this is just really weird. Sometimes we have a weird weather event, and then everything gets weird, and then it's just really weird. Whoa, let's explain it. Let's explain it as if it's that. For this event, though we have seen fairly typical influence of the polar disruption on the surface in the form of persistent high-pressure systems or blocking over the Arctic, many locations have not yet seen extreme cold, wrote Amy Butler, a research scientist at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Chemical Science Laboratory, in an email that seems tied to where, in particular, the blocking has occurred, which may also be affected by tropical... it's just when this happens, and this happens. And it's just, it's so odd, these weather occurrences. Weather is funny, isn't it? She also noted that the messy split of the polar vortex may be causing it to play out differently than other years when the vortex was displaced, like last year or the year before, or the year before that, or the year before that. You mean you're not going to say that it's a trend, it's a pattern? That massive heating in the Arctic, the fact that, we're on a trajectory of rapid global heating, you're not going to say that's the reason why the vortex doesn't exist anymore as we know it? You're not going to say that? Nah. While the polar vortex has become stretched out and wobbly, weird. It is not displaced as strongly southward or split as clearly into two lobes as in other events, wrote Butler. That means it might not be able to influence the underlying jet stream quite as well. Okay. Yeah, the goofy everydayness of this article is beginning to wear on me. Signs also point to the vortex remaining unsteady and unstable for the remainder of the season. I wonder why. Does anybody know why? Do you guys know why? Anybody? That bolsters the odds of wintry weather in the northeastern United States, and some weather models agree on this outcome. Okay. Typically, when we see a major warming like this, the stratosphere has a hell of a time recovering, said Newman. A hell of a time. Who explained that it's just too late in the season to expect the polar vortex to regain its former strength. Meaning, very bad things are going to happen. We will not get... just amazing. We will not get to the cold temperatures in the Arctic stratosphere. The vortex will stay in a weakened, warm state. Meaning a major disruption for, plants and animals alike that rely on this regularity, consistency of seasons in order to function normally. They're not going to say that, are they? No. The GFS forecast model has been suggesting some further disruption, which could possibly lead to stretching of the polar vortex over North America, Butler wrote. If it becomes disturbed enough, it could help nudge the jet stream south, allowing cold air to spill from Canada into the U.S. But this prediction is for a couple of weeks from now, which is still too far in the future for any guarantees. Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, sorry, I got a little disappointed with the whole vagueness and when we have this event, it's so very strange. Poppy Davis says, I think it's because stratospheric warming events are slower cycling than troposphere. I learned something at the age 50. Good for you, Poppy Davis. I'm going to give you a gold star. We all get gold stars for learning. Thanks for the tip, Poppy. Guile Smith, again, it's all about the runaway due to exponential methane. I know, it's just, I was a little aghast by the vagueness of that article. And by the specificity of the, what is a polar vortex? Let's look at this polar vortex. Okay. What does it mean in the scheme of, overall climate, weather? What does this do to the rest of the planet? What does this mean for the future of the planet? Nothing about that. Nothing about that. Nothing tying it into climate change specifically, too. That I find that bizarre. But par for the course. Yeah. Yes, Ken Lundgren. Weathercasters find this explanation absolutely fascinating. It's just so interesting. Roar Media, thank you. Good to see you on the Rockfin. Roar Media says, great program, Kevin. Thank you. Keep informing. Ken Greenfield, hello. Anyways, let's go back to... I'm going to wrap up this. I want to go back to what Peter Kalmus was saying. Well, Peter Kalmus actually said something else the other day about, climate deniers should not hold office, which, yeah, I also agree with. But what about, what's the criteria for a denier? Biden knows about climate change, admits it's a problem, but like Justin Trudeau, will he be able or willing to take radical climate action? Right? Lots of, the criteria for holding office being not a climate denier is not, it's a pretty low bar, right? It's not enough to just not be a climate denier, but someone who is only willing to take climate action, action. So I think the bar has got to be much higher than, are you a climate denier? But still, I guess that's where we're at in, still where we're at in our political climate these days. Of course. So if you were only willing to take radical climate action, this would put said politician in the realm of revolutionary. So all of the forces of empire and civilization would be arrayed against him or her. Maybe we should see most politicians as enemies of climate action, therefore not worthy of our vote or energy. Maybe we should look to other politicians, parties, or organizations to represent us. Maybe we should organize locally or organize an entirely different party. Maybe all of this won't matter if it doesn't happen quickly enough. But yeah, I like the idea of not allowing someone who is a climate denier to hold office, but again, in my mind, that bar is way too low. Way too low. Jay Thadcast says eco-fash sounding like the only management to do anything about consumption. For the biosphere, everyone heal Sandy's bum with your healing energy. Sending healing energy to Sandy's bum. I hope I hope you're okay, Sandy. Uh, yes, a Terra Carta. Jacob Gordon, we need a Magna Carta for the environment or a Terra Carta. You know what, Kuro, I don't know what happened. The last 2 times you gave me a super chat, it didn't show up in my revenue. So I don't know if they're blocking your super chats, Kuro, or not. Just giving you a heads up. But I have seen other people give me super chats and they didn't actually get into the revenue. So guys, I don't know what to do about that. Might want to hold off on the super chats until we can find out what's going on with that. Oh, Lance Rebo. Okay, yes, I will talk about that. I had a question or a comment from a viewer that I wanted to address today. But before that, let me let you all know, yes, Guy McPherson, interviewing Guy McPherson tomorrow. Listen, guys, there are ground rules. Just letting you know, because Guy McPherson is my guest on this channel. So you don't have to agree with Guy McPherson. You can respectfully disagree. You can ask him questions, you know, whatever. But if there's any like super derogatory, defamatory statements in the chats or in the comments, that comment will be removed. And because most of you have heard this, I'm going to assume most of you have heard this. If you do that anyways, I'm going to block you indefinitely. So I'm just telling you right now, I'm laying down the law. Please be adults. Oh, now the chat revenue showed up. Weird. Okay, that's very weird, Kuro. Yeah, anyways, guys, you know, like, I really like having conversations with Guy McPherson. I would like to have him come back on again. So, you know, I'm just saying, just be adults. You know, be grown-ups about it. If you, I see, Environmental Coffee House, that worked. That super chat worked. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. Very strange. But, you know, a lot of people really look at Guy's work as being the foundation of their understanding of where we're at with climate change. And that's, you know, all I got to say about that. But I'm just giving you guys a heads up. Derogatory comments will be removed in the chat and in the comments. And if I know that you heard this statement from me and you do it anyways, I will block you. So that's all I'm gonna say about it. Lastly, I want to talk about this comment from Amanda. Give me 1 second to pull it up. Amanda wrote, if someone found themselves with some influence politically, what should they do with it? What would be the best course of action for a doomer be in a situation such as that? At what point do you start making waves and changing shit? Is there a point where someone has enough influence to make a difference versus not? This is a good question for you, Kevin, because you do have influence as an established artist and you have chosen to pursue a bit of an outcast lifestyle as a YouTube doomer. When you decide to give up your normalcy, is it worth it? Ooh, good question. Really good question. I like that. You know, it's kind of a deep question, kind of a large question. I'm just going to quickly say, when you step outside of the establishment narrative, or you step outside of what is considered normal or acceptable behavior or behavior or speech that is not threatening to the status quo, you know, it tends to rile people up, or tends to set people back or set people off, or, you know, whenever you do that, whether you're talking about politics or climate change or whatever it is, you are going to meet harsh opposition, and that's just how it is. That's just the way it is. So if you're not ready to do that, don't do it. I like, I have to say though that, it has given me pause many times because I've been talking about abrupt climate change, that obviously people find it to be a very scary subject. Um, and so you run the risk of kind of pissing people off or driving people away. And what's the quote about? I think it's Sinclair Lewis about, um, recognizing the truth or being able to tell the truth or being able to understand the truth. Um, it's difficult for a man to understand the truth if his job depends on him not understanding it. You know what I'm saying? Um, so, for a lot of people, not making waves and not saying things that are out of line or not saying things that are against the establishment or not saying things that are out of pocket, if you will, for a lot of people, that happens because they don't want to destroy their relationships with either their employers or their... Actually, I don't talk about climate change on my other social media, on the media that I promote my music on, because it's very depressing. So yeah, I have created two distinct areas in my life where over here I just act like a normal person and I promote my music and I'm just a regular dude and I'm a dad and I just chill, right? And then there's another area of my life where I speak very bluntly and plainly about climate change, but that's generally among people who accept where we are or know about it and don't have a problem talking about it. And so I have free reign. The funny thing is it's difficult for me to have political discussions even on all of my platforms, because there's a lot of people who don't understand that the status quo politically is a shell game, that it's a kabuki theater, that it's just people moving things around, right? They really want to believe that one side is good and my side is good and that side is bad. And, so if I talk about things politically in that light, people really, have a real big problem with it. So I've often toyed with the idea of creating a whole other platform just to talk about politics, because people can still understand climate change and still be complete deniers of reality when it comes to politics. Right? So I want to talk about politics in the way that I talk about climate change, which is that this is where we're at. This is reality. This is living and operating and understanding things in reality. And I don't want to entertain people that still live outside of reality politically. But we're just going to keep it to climate change right now. Anyways, it was a good question by Amanda, and I really appreciate it. So, no, you're good. Amanda, you're good. Oh, I see. You got to go. Have fun. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, and what happens when you do speak out politically or about situations in a realistic way? What happens is you run up against a lot of opposition, either socially, politically, sometimes even legally. You run, depending on how loud you are about what you think or how what you aspire to do about the situation. You can run into all kinds of opposition. So I don't know if that answered your question very well or not, Amanda. Yeah, there are people that have political influence, that have power to get through to a lot of people. The thing is the more power you have, the more you run the risk of danger, right? If you're small, if you have a small following, if you're somebody that not a lot of people know about, well, then you have a little more free reign to talk about whatever. But as you go up the steps of acquiring influence or having ears and eyeballs, then it gets a lot harder to speak the truth, because the powers that don't want you to speak the truth have very powerful ways of making sure that you don't speak the truth, right? Anyways, in a roundabout way, I hope that I answered that. But thank you for the question, Amanda. And guys, I have run out of time for this live stream. So yeah, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to interview Guy McPherson tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Rockfin and YouTube. And looking forward to that myself. And I will see you guys later. Peace.